Welcome back to another episode of the Muddy Roots Podcast. We're your hosts. My name is Gage. We got Rob, Bill, and Ryan. And let's go ahead and dive into our topics today. Y'all want to take a cup real quick?
Let's do it.
How you guys feeling today?
Ugh.
Yeah?
Had
Like that?
Yeah. I've had the longest week of my life. Friggin' worked all week last week, worked during the weekend, had to work this week. So it just all felt like it was coming together as one long ass week.
Yeah.
And I was tired as hell, fatigued. Friggin' had like doo-doos and shit.
What? You at the doodles all week?
Yeah, dude.
You feeling sick?
Yeah, I don't know what's going around, but it's been not good.
I had that a couple of weeks ago.
Dude, I thought I
It
had
was-
food poisoning.
It was not it.
I have not been feeling sick, but Easter's coming around. So my wife and I are still trying to distribute time equally between two families. You have, I guess not you have some family here, but
Yeah.
do you guys typically split it up, or do you guys do half and half, or do you do one holiday on, one holiday off?
The goal is to do one holiday on, one holiday off, but we've typically been hosting most of the time lately, so just both come over. Since I host, if my parents or my in-laws hosted, we'd probably divide it.
Yeah.
How was your guys' weeks?
I feel like it's just blending together, dude. Like work, wake up, work, eat, sleep, try to work out,
Very
repeat.
much repetitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I used to be excited to look forward into going to work, but now it's just I get done, go to sleep, wake up, knowing I have to do the exact same thing, do it all over again. At the end of the day, go home, and get ready for the next day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love a routine, but
Yeah,
it does feel like these last few weeks have been a little monotonous.
Yeah, they get a little bit boring, blended
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
especially with graduation around the corner. We have we got a party for one of our nieces. She's graduating next month.
Mm.
Planning everything is just it's tough.
There's a lot that goes into parties.
Oh yeah, did not know that because we never had parties. We just graduated, went out to eat, and then went about our day. But
What about you, Vil? What's going on?
There's been a lot going on. So the biggest thing probably is that we're in the process of buying a house. So anyone that's done that, it's a pretty intense process. When we bought this house, we were ready for it. It was like a year, so we kind of planned the whole thing out, But this one that we're buying now, we weren't planning on buying it. It just came on the market. It's a good deal. There's some financial stuff that could be pretty positive in our lives if we do it. So me and my wife literally talked about it on one night and then decided to do it. So we put it in our offer and it got accepted, which means like we're under contract trying to do all that. But the problem is again, we weren't planning on buying a house. So our finances aren't where I would have liked them to be going into this. And so jumping through some of these loopholes, getting some more money rounded up, that kind of stuff, it's been a little stressful, but I mean, it's just kind of part of it. So that's really the biggest thing. It's just felt super busy. Me and my wife are just cranking through a lot of stuff to just make sure we're qualified for this house and get it done.
Yeah. Buying a house is a stressful process.
right,
It can be, at least. Depending, and luckily your wife's a realtor and she knows the ins and outs of it. But it can definitely be super stressful.
so how does that work? So your wife's a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean or both of you guys have to look for another realtor to go under contract? Or
No, she can.
she
do
can
it.
still do it. That's
Yeah,
pretty
so
cool.
she'll do the work, and then the way it works is they typically will, in Utah, we get a 3% commission off of most houses. Recently, it's kind of dropped down to about 2%. But anyway, when you do your own house like that, when you're buying your own, in the contract, you can either take your 2% and get paid that, or you can just say, hey, just take it off of the price of the home and I won't get paid at all.
Oh.
So there's a
Yeah,
couple
okay.
things like that. But no, yeah, luckily my wife is a realtor, so she has some friends who's helped us out. We've looked at a ton of different options on purchasing this house because it's going to be a fixer-upper. So
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about hard money. We've talked about getting loans from like just weird type of loans that most people don't even know about type of stuff. But no, it's been good. But other than that, that's really about it, dude. Just been cranking on that, trying to get money right. I mean, yeah, along with all that too, I've been taking a lot of time to focus on mental health because some of these processes are pretty intense and pretty tough.
That's important.
So, yeah, so mental health, it's one of those things. So, like growing up, I didn't know much about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So, trying to learn and teach myself some of these mental health tools, it's been tough. It's been huge. But
Yeah.
how do you guys feel like your awareness of mental health is? Like Ryan, do you feel like it's pretty high or not really?
My awareness of my own mental health.
Yeah, or
Or-
just mental health in general. Like,
I
do
mean,
you-
I know mental health is important, but I was like you. It wasn't a huge thing for me back then. But men's mental health is way different. Like I feel like that's a little more pushed aside. It's more
Yeah.
like when it comes to girls' mental health, it's more cared for. It's more like we're here for you. But when it comes to like men's mental health, it's more like
You gotta man
work
up
on it
and-
yourself.
yeah.
Like it's not no one else's problem. It's yours.
well, I even saw that like growing up with my sister. I don't know how you guys were, but like my parents, it was okay for my sister to cry and have some of those feelings, and then for the boys, it was like
Yeah.
just turn it off, like just relax.
I agree. Yeah.
So-
I feel like growing up, didn't know much about it, obviously, but I wasn't taught also. It was more of that masculine,
figure.
well, just that masculine energy of like trying to, like, if you're upset, work through it, or
Mhm.
if you're mad about something, it's your job, like you were saying, to kind of get through that and make sure that everything's okay. Kind of left up to the individual man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see that how it's kind of pushed aside. But do you think that that's because we've all been kind of conditioned in a way to deal with our own mental health that we're not speaking out about it, and that's why it's kind of being deflected?
I think it's a masculine thing. So I think it's not just Polynesians. I don't think it's
No.
just any. I think it's everyone.
I think conditioning is the right word to. I feel like we're trained in a way, yeah, conditioned to be this way.
Mhm.
Because one thing that I noticed, I remember in the introduction, I think it was the introduction episode, we were talking about our spouses being our therapist.
Mhm.
You remember that?
I remember
Yeah.
that.
And I remember you said something that it's actually so weird now because back then I didn't hear this a whole lot where you're like, I just didn't want to dish my problems out to my wife because she's going through her stuff as well. I've heard that more among men than anyone else. And it's
Oh.
so weird. I've heard that probably like four different guys in like the last month because I could tell they
Wow.
were struggling, and I'm reaching out to them like, hey, what's up? Like one of them's two of them are my cousins and stuff like that, or
Mhm.
like other buddies, and they're like, I just don't want other people to have to feel my pain.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not
I'm the
a
same
good
way.
No,
because mental health is very important actually.
right.
But conditioning, yeah, we've probably all been conditioned that like, hey, you're just a man, like just handle it, just deal with it, and roll through it. Which one do you guys have? You guys struggled with mental health personally that you're aware of and would like to share? I don't want to force it out at anyone, but
I would be a liar if I were to say that I didn't struggle with depression. Depression has been a part of my life for a long time. Only a few people like I've talked to about like how deeply sad I've been. One of them was Chun. That was like one of the hardest things for me to say was like tell her like
Mm.
that I was going through it. I was abusing alcohol like really bad back then, and she asked me just straight up. She was like, "What's wrong? Why are you sad? Like, what's going on?" And I was crying in my room, you know, fucking just taking shots of vodka. And I was telling her, I was like, "No, I'm fine, I'm fine." And then she just kept hounding it, and she was like, "What's wrong?" And then I told her, I was like, "Most people see me as like the happy guy." And I was like, "But it's weird because if you put me in a room, physically I'll be the happiest guy. Mentally, I'd probably be the saddest one in the room." And then dude, that was the toughest talk because she was like, she just told me, she was like, "I know, I knew," and that was the most heartbreaking thing I've ever heard, just because it was like someone someone sees me, someone,
Right.
you know, I've been seen, I've been heard. That's the I don't. So yeah, I do struggle with depression a little bit.
That's a cool story though. That's cool. Chun was able to be there for you.
Yeah.
What
I
were
think-
you able? Oh, go ahead.
I just said I think more men are like that than you think.
Yeah.
A lot of men fake it till they make it, kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the things that helped you get out of that depressive state? Like, I know that you just said that you were drinking alcohol a lot and you were kind of keeping it bottled up. What kind of things did you take that actually worked and helped you out?
In the healthy perspective, or just the way I did it?
I-
Because it was mainly alcohol. Like literally, I would wake up in the morning, take like 3 shots, go to work, come home, drink till I go to sleep.
Do you feel like you're through it yet, or you still think you're fighting it?
I don't think I'll ever get through it. I think it's like literally a part of my mental like
Mhm.
mentality. Like just the other day, I was driving up north and I was like talking to Chun, and I was like, "Dude, I don't know like how I feel about my life. Like I just don't feel stable. I don't feel like I could see the other side of the tunnel." And I was just going through it, and then it was like a week later, I'm fine. Like it comes and goes. Like,
Definitely in waves.
Yeah.
but
I know for me, I've definitely had depression too, and it's weird. I'm big with words. I'm big with explaining stuff, or what do they call those, like affirmations and stuff,
Yeah.
to where I pronounce things in my life. And I've definitely had depression, but I don't say that. Like I've
Mhm.
never openly really said that. Only a few people I've ever told that to, kind of like you.
yeah,
But what I have done is I've done a lot of research in depression, and especially in men, one of the biggest things for men to feel accepted, to feel valued, to feel worthy, and all that is actually to feel that people look up to them as a man.
Mhm.
Like you want people to look up to you and be like, "That's the guy." You want people to look at you and say, "He can do whatever he wants." Like you want to feel that kind of influence over people, and that's what really, not every man, but most
Mhm.
men like that. So most people, and this is just me personally, because I've had that happen recently, because I obviously decided to stop working a 9 to 5 job, and all that, and that's when the depression started setting in, but I didn't really notice it at first.
Mhm.
It didn't get deep until not too long ago, and it got pretty deep, not to the point of like suicide thoughts. I've never really had that, but like straight laziness. Like I couldn't motivate myself to do anything, and a lot of it was because I didn't feel I was doing anything. Like I literally wasn't. I don't know if proud's the right word, but there was nothing that I woke up to and I was like, "You killed it today."
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of men, that's one of the things they have to do, is do something that you're proud of yourself doing, and it helps keep you out of those stages.
Yeah.
That is very true because depression isn't always sadness and crying. It's being lazy or oversleeping, or you know what I mean. It comes in
Mhm.
different types of forms. What about you, Rob? Have you ever had
Uh,
anything?
yeah, like Ryan said, I've struggled with depression growing up, but the way that I dealt with it, it was the most unhealthy way to do it. Like if I ever felt sad, if I ever felt angry, and it was if I ever did feel angry, it was towards myself. It was towards the things that I did, the things that I said, things I could have said, things I could have done. Um, and so I would have just done like things as far as like picking fights, egging on fights, doing things like that, just so I can, expose how I feel inside. With the depression, I felt like, and it's kind of cool that you shared that because I felt the same way. Like I felt like deep down inside, I was like sheltered in a way of like a dark room, and I could not open the door. There was nobody there to open the door to shine the light. Um, but when it came to like other people, I've like trained myself to like push it, push my feelings away. And if somebody was going through something, I was there to help you.
Mm-hmm.
I was there, to talk to you. But I was never there to. I didn't. I didn't want my problems to be your problems. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want you to worry about the things that I went through. And if we were in the if we were in a room of people, I was typically the one that was like, I I would like to make you laugh. So,
Mm-hmm.
I would again push my feelings aside, and then I'd do, just do the things that I did. At the end of the day, I'd go home, and then in my room, I would just think about, like, everything would just come towards me. And I've struggled with that for the longest time growing up. It wasn't until after high school. My bad.
You're good. Take your time.
Um, I've had thoughts of committing. Never, never really told anybody about it. But if I would have done it, um, if I would have done it, it would have been 2014.
So that's a point in your life where you really struggled the most.
I was at like rock bottom.
Really.
But then I just started hanging out with like different crowds. Um, switched up my friend group, and then started I started going to the mix, and then just like hearing other people with their problems. I would just, I would vent my way. If I didn't know that person, I would talk to that person, and then if they vented their feelings or whatever towards me, then I would do the same. I would do the same back, and then it was just like it was kind of cool because it was like I didn't know that person. That person doesn't know me. When's the next time we're gonna see each other? Okay, fine. Like
Mm.
Makes
we
it a
would,
little
yeah,
easier.
we would get down into it. But yeah, growing up, it was bad. I never wanted to show signs that I struggled. I would always be the person that, all right, fuck it. If you're going through something, we're both gonna go through it together. I'm gonna help you, and then I'll deal with my shit later.
That's crazy.
Yeah. There's a couple key points in there though. So like right when you graduate high school is actually a very tough time for a lot of kids, especially whether moving out or you don't move out and you see other kids move out and you're like doing the comparing game. Like that 18, 19,
Yeah.
20-year-old age is very hard, and a lot of people unfortunately do that around
Yeah.
that age. But no, appreciate you sharing that, dude.
Yeah, that was deep, man.
What about you, Gage?
Um, kind of similar to something that you said. You were saying that you were experiencing depression or a form of it, but didn't know it. You know, I never realized the state of my mental until after I've gotten out of a funk. So I can go through like day to day and think that I'm a certain way. I think I'm good. I think I'm fine. And then like 3 months down the line, I'll look back and be like, yo, I was not in a good mental state. And it can be small things or it can be big things. Like one of the things was my pops passed when I was like 14. And from the age of like 14 to 17 or 18, dude, like I stopped going to school. I was lashing out in the wrong ways. I was doing a lot of things to not be sober, to not be able to deal with it. Obviously, those are huge signs, but when I'm actually doing them day to day, I don't realize it. And so once I stopped doing all those things, I started like you were doing, hanging out with a different group and kind of taking these little steps in a different direction. Once I started to work my way out of this funk that I was in for years, it was way more noticeable when I was out of it. And a lot of it came from different things in my life with, like you were kind of saying, things that I can be proud of. Going to school, meeting my wife, moving out, things that I just felt like were putting me in a better position that ultimately, if I feel better about what I'm doing, I'm going to feel better in general. But as far as like being sad, it wasn't so much of like a depressive state. It was more so I would do anything to not either be sober or be awake. So I slept a lot, super lazy. I would sleep. I'd sleep in. I'd stay up late. Kind of be a hermit in a way, like a hermit crab. I wouldn't leave the house, but to me, that was just like, it is what it is. This is what I do now until I got out of that point. And then that's when I was like, yeah, that was not healthy.
Well, that's what's tough about depression is it almost like capitalizes on itself. Because again, you start to like almost hate yourself or you become depressed because you're not doing things that you know you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So then you do more sleeping, you do more stuff that you know you're not supposed to do. And then the next day you get up and you're like even more upset at yourself.
Right.
And it's just like a rippling effect. It just gets harder and harder to get out of it.
Yep.
And so they actually say some of the best stuff to do when you have depression is to set some big goals and hit them.
Right.
And you can't let yourself not hit them because if you don't hit them, you're just going to get more depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's kind of weird. And so I actually think I had depression. I think I'm on the way out. But it's funny because like you guys were saying, I thought I was trying to be that guy for everybody. I was trying to be the leader, be the rock, be that guy who's funny, but also sympathetic and help you with your problems. And so I remember the first person I told that I was fighting depression was like mind blown. He was like, really, dude, like you're the one guy in this world that I would never think has depression because you look like you're killing it in life. You look like you're doing well, you're smart and all that. And I'm like, that's the thing with depression though. Like depression hits everybody.
Yeah.
No matter what your status is, no matter how you present yourself, and it sucks. And it's very hard to get out of.
Yeah. Fighting depression is like a silent battle. Like,
Constant too.
yeah, you'll never know it in the person until they speak up. But very rarely will you ever have at least a guy speak up as much about depression just because it's like, in a way, it's kind of humiliating. You know, like you're opening yourself to someone, you're letting them know your inner thoughts. And that's why it stays more silent when you're fighting it. But it's a huge thing. And if you do get people to open up, you get to see like how they are, how they've actually been thinking. And sometimes it could be very shocking to like see who is actually like dealing with it really hard at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like the truest form of themselves because they're being super vulnerable, they're being super honest, things that they don't like to share with other people. So it's like you get to see that real raw person, and it's like you said, it can be shocking depending on who it is.
Which that's what's cool about you sharing though, because I think sharing is the first step to getting out.
Right.
You cannot do this by yourself. So please, if you guys are ever having that, like you got to
Yeah.
reach out to somebody.
Right.
Um, mine was a little bit different though. So the way I got out of it, I'll kind of do that. So I remember I told him this guy it was literally during a mix 1-on-1, and I kind of like I wasn't bawling, but I was definitely like teary eyed, like you right there.
Mm.
Like I was feeling it. I was like, dude, I just don't know what to do. Like explaining the reason why I was feeling all these emotions. And then I ended up talking to my wife like the next day about it because my wife didn't even know. And then again, I'm like a religious person, and then I believe in spirits heavy. Like I do believe there's like spirits around us and all that. And I went to sleep that night after I talked to my wife. Oh, this is like crazy to me because so I woke up at like 5 a.m. But you guys know what sleep paralysis is?
Yeah.
Where you
Yeah.
just, your eyes are awake, but you can't move.
Right.
I get that a lot, actually. Like, way more than I'd like to, because it's actually super freaky.
Mm-hmm.
I bet.
But I got it. And again, it was like 5 a.m. And I don't know if you actually wake up during sleep paralysis, like, to reality, or if you wake up, like, in a dream.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know. But so anyway, I woke up, my eyes were open. And again, I feel like I know spirits are there. Like I believe fully in spirits. And I felt someone in my room. And it didn't feel like good. Like it was
Oh.
one of those that I was like scared. And I was like, this isn't real. This isn't real. So then I couldn't move. So I'm starting to panic. Like I'm freaking out a little bit. So then I pray and I'm like, hey, like, please, God, help this person leave my house. And oh, this is weird, but I literally felt somebody grab my arm. And so I sleep on the left side of the bed. So he grabbed my left arm and was pulling it. I was like, holy shit. I was like, hey, please, like, leave my house. Like, leave. And, like, asking him to leave. And then I felt another hand on my, like, shirt, on my stomach. And at this point, I knew growing up, like, the only way to get a negative spirit out is to, like, demand them to get out. And I think I was just asking too much. So then I remember closing my eyes and literally just being like, Vil, you need to demand this. You cannot keep asking. Like, you need to do this. And I remember, like, opening my eyes and be like, get the hell out of my house. And it just went silent. And the whole house was calm and all of that. And I woke up the next day and my depression was like gone. And so I think that I had someone holding me back from what I needed to be doing. I think there was a spirit with me that was holding my life back so that I wouldn't be doing some of the things I've been doing. I have felt like my life's been on pause for like the last like 5 months.
Wow.
So that's where I'm at. That's how I got through with it. I asked the Lord to help me out, and I think he woke me up in the middle of the night and showed me that
Wow.
you got something.
That is huge.
Yeah, it literally scared the crap out of me. Because I've definitely had sleep paralysis a lot. I've seen things that most people probably haven't seen. I saw my kids before they were born, that type of stuff. But this was the first time I had like a negative encounter. And it was so crazy to have someone like touch you that you can't see. And that was freaky.
That's eye opening in that way.
I don't know. Do you guys believe in those kind of things like spirits and stuff?
Yes, but it's kind of like the push and the pull and like the positive and the negative. There's always a counterpart to something, and I believe in negative spirits and I guess a demonic presence, if you will. But because of that, I also believe in spiritual guides and things that are supposed to help you and be more positive in your life. But it's kind of just because of that reason why, or that reasoning of there's always one side and the other side. but I think it's because I've had more negative experiences rather than the positive ones. But that's insane.
So how are you guys coping with that now? What are you guys doing to get through it?
For me, it's still even swept under the rug. I don't intentionally put a smile on my face. It just happens. It's just a part of me. I think it was like conditioned into me to just be the happy guy. Like when I was in high school, I was told that my presence changes the room, and the teacher was probably just lying to me or something. But I took it to heart.
No, I
And it
agree.
was-
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. But I don't want my presence to bring the room down. And so I've always adapted the smile, laugh, like bring other people up, bring the room up. And I think I've held on to that ever since. Sorry.
What about you guys?
As far as coping, just like what you said about setting goals, I think you hit it right in the nose because this year was like the most goals I've ever set myself. One of them we talked about the New Year's resolution, and it was hitting the gym, and try to be down a certain weight, and that's like the only thing I'm looking at right now, and it's just to the point where the gym has been my huge therapy factor. That story that I just shared, you guys were actually the first people I've ever opened up to. And just like Ryan said, how you were like always the happy guy. I always thought I was like, I tried to be like the funny guy. I tried to open up to everybody in a way to, boost up everybody's, I don't know, kind of like self-esteem or whatever. Like I would always try to make people's day. I would always try to, do all this for everybody. It wasn't until I heard Mike Tyson's quote in his podcast with Terry Crews, and he said, "If you are a friend to everybody, you are enemy to yourself." And that's what sunk in. So this year, that's why I set, goals for myself, just kind of like baby stepping it, just because I've held it on for 26, 27 years. So I think that saying you got to crawl before you walk, I think that for me, it applies to this. So that's where I'm starting off right now. This, what we're talking about right now is it, like, I can tell you this much, like, it's just like all the weight on my shoulders, it just took it off.
Well, that's
you,
good.
You said that huge quote though, like being friends to everyone is being an enemy to yourself.
Yeah.
That is huge
I've held on to that quote for the longest time.
because you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Gage? Especially like, and you don't have to talk about this if you don't want, but like getting over your father's passing, that's not easy. Like, so what kind of things did you do, coping mechanisms and stuff like that to overcome some of that stuff?
So when I don't mind. I'll touch on it. When it comes to when my dad passed, what kind of did it for me, and I honestly don't think I'm fully over it. I think that there's a couple of things that I still need to work on and unbury and talk about as far as with the therapist or with my wife or something, but time will come. But that's exactly what did it for me, was just time. Like, time helps you heal. Getting through certain, I don't know what the word I'm trying to look for, I guess like hit markers or something of my life, as far as getting finished with school, getting married. Those were tough, but it gets easier, which is kind of crazy to say, but it does. I didn't do anything necessarily to get myself out of that funk. Towards the tail end of it, I did meet my wife, and she did help me a lot with dealing with that. I never went to my dad's gravesite. It's just something that I don't feel him there. Kind of like how you're saying, like you can feel people's spirits and you can feel people's energies and stuff. Like I don't feel him there. The way that I feel him the most is by reminiscing or talking or telling stories and stuff. So I never went to his gravesite after he passed, but Cece made me go, and kind of in a like introductory sense of I'm going to show you my now or soon to be wife, and I do think that that kind of helped me get over a lot of it. Was just kind of dealing with it head on, because in a sense I wasn't going back because there's a lot of there's a lot of feelings and there's a lot of emotions tied up, and it's technically just all sitting in that grave. And so me going back after years and years of not going and not stopping by, and it's weird because I used to pass it every day to go to work when I worked at Carpets Plus, and going back to revisit was something that helped a lot. So, but as far as it comes to like nowadays, going to the gym, like you're saying, because you have that goal, but going to the gym in general has made me happier. And that's just because of endorphins, and you feel better about your day, starting your day or ending your day with a workout. It's helped me tremendously. My wife and I also have, we call it floopy days, or the term is floopy. We're trying to be better about expressing ourselves if we're having that off day, trying to get ahead of the curve a little bit. So she'll wake up and we'll just do our morning routine, and she's like, "Hey, I just feel a little floopy." And we don't say depressed, we don't say sad, just because it's not to that point, but also that just has that negative connotation to it. So we'll just kind of real quick express like, "Hey, I'm feeling a little floopy." So that day we'll make sure that we get some sunlight. We'll go walk out during the day. We'll go do something fun like take the dogs to the park or do a date, and we'll just kind of relieve that stress and take ourselves out of that stressful environment just for even a little bit. It doesn't work all the time, but it definitely helps a lot.
That's cool that you and your wife have that moment.
Yeah.
Very cool. One thing that I've learned reading some of these books, especially with some of those moments that keep coming back. So how you said your father passed, and that depression will keep coming back.
Right.
So there's actually a lot of things mentally that are like that, that just keep coming back over and over and over again. And one of the things that you're supposed to do, for example, for you and your father, I have some similar stuff too. You're supposed to go talk to that person, which your father's not here, so you have to talk to him however you feel. And you say, "Dad, like, I want you to I want to let this go. Can you let me let it go?" And there's power in having that person that's not holding you back, but that's having that memory and letting them or letting yourself know that they want you to let it go. And it helps you to release some of those feelings and some of those even like traumatic experiences. To ask that person, "Hey, I just want to be happy. Can
That's
you please bless
interesting.
me to be happy?" I read this book, and I think I've told you guys this off air, but it's called "It Didn't Start With You." And that's one of the biggest things he tells his clients, because you can actually inherit certain emotional weaknesses or certain stresses or whatever. And he says one of the best ways to overcome those is, let's say you hate something because of something that grandma went through.
Mm-hmm.
It's important, even if grandma's not here, to talk with her and say, "Hey, like, I just don't want to have this anymore. I want to be happy. Will you please let me be happy?" And he says he's seen that a lot of people that takes that relapse away.
That's big. I've never thought of it like that.
I didn't either until I read that book. But yeah, let's take a cup real quick.
Let's do it.
Getting into feelings. Have you guys experienced any other forms of mental, whatever you want to call it.
I do struggle with anxiety running our social media accounts. Oh, it's so hard putting myself out there because I'm normally not that guy. So like when it comes to commenting, posting stuff, I take it like I'm doing it on my personal account, even though nobody knows I'm doing it. And so I get scared to like comment to someone or like post something and I'm like, maybe people won't like this, you know, like
Yep.
they'll think I'm moted. That's, but I have that with everything. Like even doing this podcast, when it's like the spotlight's on me, I get so anxious, and I know like you can hear it in the like earlier episodes where my voice is shaky, my breathing isn't steady. Like there's so many telltale signs that I'm like struggling, but I'm trying to open myself up. I'm trying to get past a hump in my life where I'm like, I need to like get over being afraid of the spotlight, like uh, being anxious with this social media thing. That's one of the things I struggle with. Yeah, anxiety.
I don't really struggle with anxiety necessarily. I've had situations or experiences in my life when I've been anxious, like super anxious. Um, I think I kind of chalk it up to just being kind of nervous. Nerves are they're pretty standard, but um, I was reading this little article that was saying, um, do you have anxiety, or do you know you have anxiety, or do you have anxiety, type of thing. And one of them was like, or a couple of the things were practicing conversations in your head. I do that fully. Like, I don't like talking to people. I don't like meeting new people. But I'll practice. So, like, if I'm not necessarily with you guys, because I know you guys pretty well, but if I'm going to talk to somebody who I'm not totally comfortable with, I'll practice what I'm going to say in my head. If he says this, then I can at least know about where I'm going to take it or where I'm going to say. Um, and not looking people in the eyes. I don't like doing that. And that's, according to the article, a sign of you can be a little bit anxious.
Mhm.
I can
Um,
see that. Yeah.
So if I'm talking to somebody that I don't know very well or that I almost in a sense respect, I won't look you in the eye very long. I'll still make eye contact because it's respectful and it's custom and whatever. But I won't just lock eyes and do it. It's just weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually had an anxiety attack, or you can call it a panic attack. Are they the same things?
I think so.
I was at work, and I work from home, so I was at my house. Luckily, because if this happened in a work setting, it would have been bad. But I was just tasked with a new job of it's called intercom, and I'm supposed to clear out the old users. And the way to do that is I have to export all of those conversations, and I have to save those, and then I send it to an email address so that we have some sort of record of it. But that new process was implemented because of my screw up.
Oh.
And yeah, and so we had around 112,000 clients who talked to us regularly, and I was supposed to filter out the users to haven't seen more than 180 days, but I filtered it to I haven't seen less than 180 days. So I deleted like
Ooh.
90,000 of our current customers from being currently helped, being needing help, waiting for replies, and like our whole intercom went dark. And I did it, and I left my computer, and I went to go make food. It was like right around lunchtime, and I can just hear my computer going ding, ding, ding. But that's typical. And so when I came back from eating, I looked at my messages, and it was my boss, and she was like, "What just happened? What'd you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I just cleared out the intercom, old users. What's going on?" Another troubleshooter messaged me, and he was like, "Hey, did you just do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I followed the steps that you did." And he was like, "Okay, then it might not be what you did." And then he was like, you had to make sure that the filter said more than 180 days." And I was like, "I don't know for sure." And so I deleted all these people, and slowly they started to come back, and I had a panic attack, and I had to go outside to get air, and I took off my shirt because I was getting hot and I couldn't breathe. I actually called Chun because she gets panic attacks sometimes, and I had to talk about it, and I was like hyperventilating and just like couldn't get any air into me. But that's probably the worst experience that I've had with anxiety.
Did you get like pain in your chest as
Yeah,
well?
sharp pains. Yeah,
It's
Damn.
crazy.
I've never had one, and I didn't know what was going on, and like. It was even almost like I was looking, like if I was looking at you guys, I wasn't seeing you guys. I was just staring. Like vision came.
Did your vision get like blurry?
I don't know if it was blurry or if it was like I just was like,
You're too caught up on other stuff you
Right.
can't see.
and so I was just like sitting there, just in the backyard. Cece was at work, so I couldn't call her just yet. I ended up talking to her about it, but it was. I've never experienced one, and it was not pleasant. It was crazy.
And you got saved though. You said they started to come back.
Yeah, we don't know how.
Oh.
We don't know how, and it just started to slowly leak over, and then Cece thought it was like a game. We'd go out to go eat dinner and come back. She's like, "Let's go check our users," and I was like, "It's my job." So they slowly started to come back, and then after I had a meeting with my boss, and she was super cool about it. Like she cracked jokes, and I told her I had a little panic attack, and she brought it up in our meetings, thinking it was funny, and we all laughed. But if things didn't come back, she said that it was a fireable offense.
Oh,
And this is when you were new.
Right. Yeah. I haven't been at the job more than like 4 months, and they tasked me with it, and I just lack of detail. I didn't pay attention, and it almost
Jeez.
cost me my job. Yeah, it was intense.
That's cool that your boss was like able to like kind of like turn it around into a sense of like you were thinking that it's serious, it's fireable, whatever, but your boss was like, no, it's okay. Everybody messes up. Everybody fucks up. Everybody's not perfect.
She definitely did that after the
I was about
users
to
came
say.
back.
I'm sure she did
Oh,
that because they came back.
Yeah,
Oh,
she did.
yeah.
Yeah, when we had the talk, she was like, "Yeah, the users are back. Everything's fine." Like, so I told her, we joked about it, and she said that it is a fireable offense, so make sure you pay attention. And I was like, "Oh yeah, for sure."
Yeah, because I know there's bosses out there that's like one strike, you're done.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, but we had to put a whole new process in on how we do it because we had no backups. So
Damn. At least you found like a little like.
there was a
Discrepancy.
weak link there that
Yeah.
I helped fix. It scared everybody.
Have you guys done much research into anxiety and what it is
No,
and
not
how to
really.
like help prevent it? So, and I felt bad. I grabbed my phone because I was looking at this book that I read that talked about it, and I believe it's the Hope and Help for the Nerves, and she talks about anxiety and what it is and how to fix it. And one of the lines that I won't forget in the book is. No, I forgot it. But no.
We'll wait.
So anxiety is when you care more about the way you feel or the way you will feel more than actual reality. So in that panic attack, you messed up, whatever. When you have panic attacks, it's because you have a fear more of your feelings than reality. So you're fearing what you're going to have to go through, whether it's you're going to lose a job, whatever,
I can see that.
rather than focusing on the reality and be like, okay, I messed up, let's just fix it. Because I've experienced panic attacks too, and every time I've done it, it's because I'm focusing more on, shoot, this is getting stressful, this is getting thick, panic attack, rather than, okay, we got to get stuff done, let's just get it done. And she actually says that's when anxiety turns into panic attacks, is when you start to fear the future feelings to come and not the feelings you have now.
Wow.
So anxiety comes from when the simple example is when you're taking a test. Some people are poor test takers and get anxiety for tests. And if you think about the reality of a test, it's not that big of a deal. You go in, you mark some numbers or whatever, you just write your answers down, you use your brain, and then you submit it. People get anxiety from it or get anxious of a test because they're more worried about the feelings afterward, like the feeling of, what if I fail?
Mm-hmm.
Or the feeling of, what if I'm not as smart as the kid next to me? Or what if I fail this entire class because I don't pass this test? When you're focused more on your feelings than the results or than reality, that's when you get anxiety. And then when you start to fear the future feelings, that's when you get panic attacks. So then there's people who take tests and they have panic attacks leading up to the test because they're more scared about the feelings they're going to get from taking the test than the reality of just writing on a piece of paper.
Wow.
Damn.
I could see that
Yeah.
because I'm scared. Not scared. I have anxiety when it comes to like commenting to people and all that. So putting that in my shoes is crazy. I see that. That is
Because if you think about it, commenting back is you're just having a conversation with someone
Yeah.
online. So everyone can see it,
but it's
but who, at the end of the day, who really cares?
Yeah.
Only you.
yeah, only me because I'm anxious to be judged.
Mhm.
You know, I'm just that is
Hmm.
crazy. That's a crazy book.
It is a really good book, and it's actually a really short book. Again, I listen to Audible. I don't read.
What's it called?
It is called Hope and Help for Your Nerves by Dr. Claire Weeks.
Hmm.
It's a really interesting one. I can text it to you guys, but it helped me actually a lot because she actually says that anxiety, no matter how severe, can always be healed. And the way you do it is you have to learn to look at life as reality and not through just your feelings. So looking at stuff, because some people get anxiety from like hearing that us in China are in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, that doesn't affect us right now. So just live right now. She talks a lot about how the way to deal with anxiety and to prevent anxiety and to become healthy is to slow it down. Like think through your life, being proactive. Don't let yourself get into negative situations, and then preparing your mind for when you get in those negative situations to call a timeout and slow it down, just like we do in sports. In
Mhm.
basketball, you know this, when it's a 17-0 run on the other team, or for the other team, your coach is going to call a timeout because he's like, slow it down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep just letting it go, it gets out of control. Same thing with anxiety. Those are some of the big skills to help
Damn.
get over it, is slow it down. Breathe.
I've never actually thought about it like that.
It's not an easy skill though. Like, you know this too. We all know this. When you move up in sports get faster. The competition gets faster.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think faster. Life is the same way. The older you get, the more responsibilities you get, life comes faster. And you have to learn how to slow it down. If you don't, you're just going to get ran over and you're going to have those panic attacks. You're going to have that anxiety hit, stuff like that.
Wow.
I think that's huge. I definitely think, like you said, it's not easy to do, not an easy skill to acquire. Some situations are definitely easier to either prevent or deal with,
Mm-hmm.
but just that idea in a whole is a really helpful perspective.
Yeah, because when you say that, after you say all that, going back, putting myself in my shoes 9 years ago, that is exactly what happened. Everything was just coming so fast. I didn't know what to do, didn't know how to deal with it. And that's crazy.
Well, like we said, I think it's a huge problem with our young adults, even honestly, even as young as like 15, 16, 17, all the way up to probably about our ages, like 25, 26, 27. It doesn't get easier, but you're more used to the game. Like I remember when you get a license, you have a lot more freedom. So that's when life
Yeah.
starts to come faster because you have more freedom, more responsibilities. And if you weren't prepared well enough in those first 14, 15 years, it comes so fast that it crushes a lot of people.
Yeah. Another thing with like young adults, high school kids, and depression kind of settling in, anxiety or whatever, social media, man, that is a huge.
Plays a huge factor.
Yeah, it's just because of, no, you didn't say it. I think you said it. Someone said it. But like comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm-hmm.
That is because social media, everyone's trying to be them best selves, have more fun than they're having, showing that they have more than what they have, this and that. Obviously, that you have genuine people on there, but the vast majority of the people that, or the accounts that are popular, are traveling and doing this and that, and people are looking at this and like, I don't have that, I don't do this, I don't look like this, and it leads to that comparison that where they're getting a little bit more depressed. And I think that's a huge part in why our young adults are a little bit more susceptible to depression or anxiety or other mental health issues.
they live in social media.
Yeah.
Kevin Gates even has a quote where he's like, I'm not on Instagram because why would I compare my real life to your highlight life?
That's very true.
And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't see that. They see all these crazy things. It's so weird, dude. I've had people hit me up and be like, man, you're just killing it. And I'm like, no. Like, I'm still grinding every day, just like
Mhm.
everyone else. But again, I only post the cool stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't post the
successes.
stuff when I'm going through depression. Like, I don't post that. I post, yeah, I built a house, cool. And
Mhm.
people are like, oh, man. But if you do that comparing game, it gets super rough, super tough.
It's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
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 Because there's guys we've all probably looked up to, and yeah, you just can't compare to them.
You're not
But-
posting that. Hard to get out of bed today.
Yeah.
Some people do.
Yeah.
Some people do. And I actually don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to bring awareness to it. Now, I don't think you'll get a lot of followers doing that, but I don't think it's negative.
I personally wouldn't, but
Same.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that pretty much just wraps it up. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Muddy Roots Podcast. Like always, we are always your host, Ryan Ville, and myself, Rob Engage. Thank you guys for staying and listening to everything we had to say. It was pretty big for us to open up to each other and to you guys. So please, if you guys ever need anything, if you guys ever need to talk, you guys need a friend, reach out to somebody, reach out to your closest friend, to your family, and even you can even just reach out to us. We'll be more than welcome to sit there and talk to you. And if you guys don't feel comfortable, there's always the hotline. So please talk. Don't hold it in. Thank you guys. Have a good
Love you
day.
guys.